everyone, and welcome back to Starting 11 here on the Let's Get Ready Network, the Highlights channel. I'm Adelia, that's my buddy Snark, and Snark, the fact that we're back means that the Premier League is back.
Yeah, summer break's over for us, but honestly, I couldn't wait to get back to this
I
and
couldn't either.
wash last season out of my hands and stuff like that. Never ever have to think about that ever again.
I sort of feel the same way, even though our team had a much better season than yours.
Yeah, I think a second place finish in the league. I think if you were told at the beginning of the year that would be you'd finish second,
I would have taken it in an instant.
Yeah, just you had a bad month. Had a real bad month.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
but Snark, for this episode, we're not alone.
Oh boy,
we have a special guest making his debut here on the show. The host of one of the hosts from the Oscar Buzz channel. It's Trevor. Hello, Trevor.
I also had a season to forget. Not great. Yeah, I don't get to talk about soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, that much. Talk a lot about movies, but it'd be fun. I've been a Tottenham fan since I was like 9 years old, so it's been rough. It's been rough.
That's honestly not been too long though.
It has. It's like 8 years. So.
Oh my god, I knew it. God damn it. Yeah, I'd also like to thank your parents for allowing you to stay up past your bedtime so we can do
8 o'clock. I went to bed at 3 a.m. last night. Okay.
Oh my god.
The Women's World Cup has destroyed my sleep schedule.
It has destroyed my sleep schedule as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's even fair to call it the sleep schedule anymore because it just doesn't exist. So.
Oh my gosh.
But
should be guys. Fun. We can talk about World Cup later.
Yeah.
We got something important here. We got Premier League starting back up, brand new season. Every team has the exact same chance to go on to win the Premier League, except for maybe a couple of them. They have zero chance, but everybody starts at zero. We can start by reintroducing ourselves to AFC Bournemouth. They're back. They finished 15th last year. New coach, which is kind of odd because I thought that Gary O'Neill had a pretty good year considering he didn't get them relegated. They bring in I want to say Antonio Areola, but I can't Areola.
Andoni Areola.
There you go. Oh my god. What a name. So anyways, they bring him in 2-year contract. Let's see if we can keep them afloat. I've watched a couple of prediction things, and most people think they should be okay, but every once in a while you'll see a Bournemouth being the ones to get sent down. But we can talk about that in a bit. Not any major signings. Hamed Traore from Sassuolo. I always want to say Susudio whenever I hear that club name. It's hard for me not to say it. They got Milos Kerkez from as Alcaraz and Andre Radu from Inter, which may be one of their bigger signings. Didn't lose much off the squad from last year. Ben Pearson, Chris Francis, not a huge deal. Looking to keep them up. I just noticed a couple of players that I remember from last year doing well. I think their goalkeeper Neto has been fine for them. In the midfield, Marcus Tavernier, of course, has been pretty good. They also brought in Kluivert, just a Kluivert from Roma, and I know that the special one really liked him. So we'll see what he can do back in London. And of course, they have up front Solanke and Ouattara, who were actually pretty good last year. Problem is their defense still looks a mess. So they have to be able to keep goals out, it seems, to win. They can't depend on Solanke and Ouattara to win every game. Does the addition of Areola keep them up? Do you think they're in trouble this year?
I don't know.
I go back and forth with Bournemouth. I mean, obviously, I don't see them going any higher than like the 14th, 15th range by the end of the season. Really, the coaching situation, I agree, is like really weird because like I still don't really understand why they sacked them. Yeah. It's really really bizarre decision. I think one of the weirdest like managerial sagas in the offseason. So I don't know. I mean, you could tell me they'd finish genuinely anywhere in that, like from 14th to 20th, and I'd believe you.
Right. Well, 20th.
Not 20. Sorry, 14th to 19th. I think we know who's going to
Yeah,
be 20th.
I think there's a team that's kind of cut out for 20. But any ideas from you, Adelia? Do you think how do you believe Solanke and Tara can get it done for Iriola?
I mean, if they have the same kind of season that they had last season, they can finish, like Trevor said, in that 14-15 range. I don't see them going much higher than that, and I don't see them really being better than that. But I think they're going to maybe be one of those teams that has to go on a bit of a run at the end of the season to get out of the relegation fight. And this managerial thing is weird. Like, they didn't fire Gary O'Neill right after the season. They fired him in June.
Yeah.
Like, what happened there to make that
feels
decision?
like we're missing something behind the scenes. Like,
yeah, it does.
Because it's so strange considering, like, I mean, as you mentioned, like trying to make a run towards the end of the season to stay up. Like, he kind of did, like, he did everything he needed to and everything that you'd want and more from a Bournemouth manager. So it's really, really bizarre.
It's not like they're spending money. It's not like they were bleeding money. But he only has to do better than 3 other teams, and I think he should do fine.
Yeah.
There's a team that I think is going to go down that maybe should have last year. Let's talk about the second team in alphabetical order. It's Arsenal. Somebody up here thinks they'll do pretty well.
I think so, yeah.
Mikel Arteta still at the helm. One big exit, Granit Xhaka. He's gone. He's over in Germany now. Good luck to the Swiss-born Granit Xhaka. Now they bring in, and they do this early. They identified who they wanted, and they went and got them. One, Jerry Timber from Ajax. It's like, okay, good. They decide to bring in Kai Havertz on quite a lot of money, which I thought I was.
I don't either. I don't know where he fits in.
I would have drove him. I would have drove him up north. Shook his hand, said, "Here, get him. Thanks for coming." He did win a Champions League for a certain team. I don't want to say which one. But they also signed maybe the crown jewel of Premier League signings. They get Declan Rice out of West Ham. They get their captain. And the player that they were rumored to get and rumored to go after since he decided to not renew a contract with only 2 years left or whatever in West Ham. So they get their man, Declan Rice. Could be an absolute game changer for Arsenal. I didn't break down any of the top players we should expect because I think that Adelia would be able to tell us a little bit about a few of her favorites. I would expect just the addition of having William Saliba back is going to be a huge difference for that squad.
Yeah. I mean, it's been huge even in preseason just to have William Saliba back.
Mm-hmm.
The defenses look good. Zinchenko hasn't played at all in the preseason. So Jurriën Timber, who's really a center back or right back, has been playing left back, and I think he's been phenomenal.
Okay.
In the preseason games, he was really good in the Community Shield this weekend, which we beat Man City on penalties.
Yeah.
That was a weird game. That was one of those. We can talk about this a little bit here, I guess. The new rule of having like 10 minutes added on time at the end of a game really saved Arsenal in the Community Shield because we scored in like the 100th minute to tie the game and send it to extra time and eventually
weird deflection.
Penalties.
It was considered
a weird deflection.
An own goal. I don't know about that. Like, what was the guy gonna do? He goes off his hip. He's just standing there. So whatever.
Yeah. Arsenal's had a pretty good preseason. We did the MLS All-Stars thing, which was a lot of fun.
Annihilated them.
We had just destroyed them. We won 5-0.
I will always remember Kai Havertz in that skills competition.
Oh, yes. Kai Havertz in the skills competition trying to score on the MLS goalkeepers and could not do it. The only person in the history of the skills challenge that has not been able to score. I was like, oh, this is great. This is fantastic.
Worth all the money. Worth all of it. Yeah.
Worth all of it.
The timid deer is in full mid-season form.
Yeah. I think that Kai Havertz is supposed to be playing in the midfield. I don't think he's supposed to be playing as a striker.
Mhm.
No, he is not a striker. That's why he got
he's
out.
not a striker. He's not a striker whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
That's everything that I've heard so far. Is Kai Havertz has been bought to sort of fit into the midfield somehow. I don't understand how, but that's everything I've heard so far.
Well, isn't Jesus going to be injured for a bit?
Yeah,
though?
Jesus is injured to start the season. Gabriel Jesus is injured.
That's
so Kai Havertz started as the 9 in the Community Shield game. So, like, I think he's like a backup to Jesus. I don't think Arteta trusts Nketiah. We're trying to sell Balogun and cash in on his great season in France last year, which is smart.
Yep.
But I don't think that he trusts Nketiah. So I think Havertz is also Jesus's backup. I mean, personally, I didn't think Havertz was going to start as the 9 in the Community Shield. I thought they'd put Trossard there because when we played with Trossard there in the season last year, it worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he's also kind of a backup to that position. Leandro Trossard has been the star of Arsenal's preseason, by the way.
Yeah,
he's been
100%.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely phenomenal. And he's really pushing Martinelli. I don't think he's going to be starting most games over Martinelli, but he's really... I think we might see more substitutions of Martinelli coming out in a game if we have to chase the game or it's tied or something to put Trossard in than we maybe would have necessarily seen last year. I think a lot of the signings that we made has been about having options to pull players out of games because we just basically played the players into the ground last year because we had our starting 11 and then that was it for basically the season until somebody got injured. So I think it's about having more depth and more rotation. I think they've achieved that. I just don't understand how Havertz is supposed to fit in yet, but I haven't seen it yet either.
So something that I've seen people suggest is that like you do a front 3 of like Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, and then a midfield 3 of Havertz, Rice, Odegaard, and do like a 4-3-3. But
yeah, I've heard that too.
I don't know if it still feels weird. Playing like
it does.
Havertz is like is he an 8? Is he a false 9? Like how do you? I mean, with also you're just ignoring Trossard. Like
he's 100% a false 9, and we kept trying to like beg and plead with the managers to play him as a false 9 last year. Problem is, Chelsea didn't have a striker; they had nobody. Yeah. So he was forced into a number 9 position because they thought he could do it. I think he scored 4 goals for us last year. 4 goals at a number 9, and he played a lot. He's best as a number 10, a false 9. Like you were saying, that position is taken. So what they've done is like if they want to pay $60 million for depth, I think that's a hell of a price for someone who scores 4 goals. But it turns out Mikel Arteta is a much smarter guy than me. He must have an idea of what he wants with this club. But the big deal was trying to shore up some defensive depth because it was exposed last year for sure. And we'll see what Timber is going to be able to do. I think it just gives people a sigh of relief, especially if we can play over on both sides of the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have Tomiyasu coming back from injury. He's back already, which I didn't think he would be back for preseason. I thought for sure he was still going to be injured with the way they had talked when he actually injured his knee last year. So he's back. Saliba's back. Saliba back being is huge. He signed a new contract in the offseason. That's as good as a new signing to me. I mean, he was the rock of our defense last year, and it kind of fell apart when he got injured. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think Ben White is basically our solidified right back now, even though he's still technically a center back. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen this year. It's a very different look to the team, even though we have most of the same players. And I'm really excited about Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice is going to be phenomenal.
It was a great signing for you guys. Hopefully he can bring some of that some of the smarts he had with West Ham over. I think I think it's going to be odd for him. He's going to have to accept a bit of a lesser role. There's just so much talent you guys have up front now. He's not going to be dependent on everything. You guys didn't get rid of Thomas Partey. It was a huge. There was a lot of rumors going around. Do you still see Partey partaking with your squad this year? Do you think he's still on his way out?
No, I think Party's staying. I mean, I also, at this point, wouldn't be surprised if he left. We have to sell some players at this point, though, because we have a lot of players on the roster that just sort of need to move on.
I'm looking
I
at it
know,
now. It's pretty bloated. Not
yeah, we
Chelsea
have a lot of
bloated.
players. Yeah, we have a lot of players we have to move on. Balogun, we're trying to sell, but they're really set firm on what they want for Balogun, which I don't blame them. With you got like Rasmus Højlund going for the amount of money that he just went, and he scored like what 9
Incredible.
goals last year,
Right.
and
Incredible.
Balogun scored 20 in France, and people are like, "Oh, they need to lower the price on Balogun." No, we don't. People just need to pay it.
Yeah.
So, I think it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But yeah. It's I don't think anybody else is really necessarily coming in except maybe David Raya.
I was going to ask about
Brentford.
Raya. What are your thoughts on that? Because I was hearing like 40, 50 million. And
Yeah,
is
I don't think
Ramsdale
it's going to
going?
be that. I don't think it's going to be that. Turner's leaving.
Yeah, he's going
There's
to
a deal with
Forest.
Nottingham Forest to go to for Turner. So it's going to be like competition between Ramsdale and Raya. I don't know why we're doing this and not just getting a different backup goalkeeper, because I think
Right.
Ramsdale's been really, really good. But the goalkeeping coach at Arsenal is Inaki Kanya, and he worked with Raya at Brentford, and I think that's what. And we wanted Raya from Brentford back when they first got promoted to the Premier League a couple seasons ago. So I think this is going back to, this is the guy we really wanted all along. But like we love Ramsdale at the same time. So I don't know
Right.
what's happening here.
It'll be weird. I know on the Arsenal women's team, they did like a rotation thing with their goalkeepers where they brought in two really strong keepers and then played matchups with them as far as
Yeah.
who they thought was stronger fit. So obviously, it's all within the same club. I don't know if we'll see, but I can't imagine that goalkeepers at the caliber of Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya would be happy splitting time with each other.
Right, but for some reason, Raya is like, he had an offer to go to Bayern Munich, and he was like, "No, I want to go to Arsenal." So there's something going on that I just don't understand yet.
I don't see them selling Ramsdale though is the thing, and I
I
don't see
don't think they're
Ramsdale going
going to sell Ramsdale. I think it's going to be, that's our two keepers for the season is Raya and Ramsdale. Because who else are we going to have? They're trying to put all the young goalkeepers we have either out on loan or sell them to lower league clubs. And
Yep.
we still have Alex Runarsson, the Icelandic goalkeeper, but I don't think he's staying for very long either. So
Maybe just
I don't know.
European depth, like play one in Champions League.
Maybe. I mean, like, I think a lot of decisions have been made because we're back in the Champions League, and I don't know if maybe this is one of them. I know there are a lot of people in that are Arsenal fans that think that Ramsdale could be improved on. That's a position we could improve on, and that they think Raya is an upgrade from him. So maybe the club kind of feels the same way, but I don't know.
I've heard that, but once again, if that's the case, I don't see Ramsdale staying as a
Right, but I think one of the things is I think Turner asked to leave. I think Turner wants to go somewhere where he will play.
Yeah, he needs
So I don't think they're gonna buy Raya, sell Ramsdale, and buy another goalkeeper and have just two brand new goalkeepers for the season. So I don't know what's happening, but they have some sort of plan, obviously, that just doesn't make sense yet, similar to the Havertz thing.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll look back at it a year from now and like, oh, okay, I guess I can. But as of now, it feels so bizarre, especially with the money that Raya could be. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to end up paying $40 million for Raya. I think that would be ridiculous to do, especially since he only has like 1 year left on his contract at Brentford. But he was at, apparently, the Community Shield game with someone from Brentford. I don't know who that was. So I think that deal is going to be done. I just don't understand it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
very strange.
So do they have what it takes now, you think? Do you think that the addition of Rice, the addition amount, getting people back, is this the squad that can knock off City?
I don't know.
Yeah, tough to say.
I mean, that's just a simple answer. City lost Gundogan and a couple, they brought in the central defense. They lost Mahrez. They brought in the central defender the other day. Like, I don't know.
Guardiola,
yeah, Guardiola. I don't know if we can beat City yet. Like, I haven't seen City play. They've been in Japan. Their games have been at weird hours. Like, I haven't seen City yet, except for the Community Shield. And I don't count that as, like, anything all that much to go off of for the season.
No.
Like, Kevin De Bruyne didn't play most of that match.
Yeah.
So
Holland got subbed off pretty early in the second half.
Holland got subbed off pretty early. Like, you can't go off of that. Like, I've seen people saying, like, we're going to beat City in the league and all this. No, we're not. Not based on that. Like, you can't say that. So, I'm at the same place that I was last year when everybody was like, "Oh, Arsenal's going to win the league because they've been leading for so long." I was like, "But it's City, so you have no idea yet."
Yeah.
So,
all right,
Yeah.
let's move on. Let's move on. We've talked about Arsenal enough.
Arsenal, let's get out of here.
All right. It doesn't get any better. We're gonna talk Aston Villa next. Finished 7th last year, and they're gonna have a full year now under Unai Emery, a guy I consider the manager of the year last year for the job he did when he took over. Not much in the way of big signings. Yuri Tielemans, they gets from Leicester for I believe it was 25 million or something like that. Pretty much a song. Musa Diaby could be a very good signing for them as well. And again, of course, their top players, maybe Martinez. I like Tyrone Mings. But Ollie Watkins is going to be the heartbeat of this team again, and they're going to win through him. What do you guys think a full season of Unai Emery is going to look like for the Villains?
I think it could look positive. I'm just curious to see how they'll balance European football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will be a massive test for the squad, considering, as you said, they didn't bring in a bunch of new players.
Nope.
So I mean, obviously it's conference league, so like it's not like the biggest thing in the world. But just to see how the rotation will work with the extra matches, because it's been a second since Villa have been in this position, especially with the squad of players. So
I'm looking right now at some of their depth, like their goalkeepers and stuff like that. It would look like it would fall to Robin Olsen to be their backup, who's only had 64 appearances. Martinez plays a lot, and he's a World Cup champion. But you look at their defense. Besides Mings, Lucas Digne was pretty good last year. But really, there isn't much else. Matty Cash has played a lot. Desiree Konsa, but those guys aren't names that just pop into your head when you think defending. Their midfield, not too bad. Philippe Coutinho is there. Boubacar Kamara, I thought was okay. Jacob Ramsey, of course. And I guess Aaron Ramsey is going to be there as well. But really, it's just who can get the ball to Ollie Watkins.
right.
I think a top 7 finish like they had last year would be remarkable for the squad. I'm thinking these guys are going to fall back not too far, but into the 9-10 area where they, that's the Villa belongs. They don't belong in, the top 7 ever for nothing. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that I think that Emery is a terrific coach. They didn't really have much going in. Like I'm surprised about how little money they spent, considering that they had a real chance to progress.
Right, especially with the need I feel for added depth with European football. So
Yep.
Yeah. That Aaron Ramsey that you just listed off there is not the Aaron Ramsey that used to play for Arsenal. This is a different Aaron Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
He's I don't know how they're gonna do though. Like I don't trust Unai Emery. I mean, maybe that's just like traumatic, reliving trauma from when he was the Arsenal head coach. But he's just not good sometimes. Sometimes he does really well. Like he did well with Valencia back in the day. He did well with Villarreal. He did not do well at PSG. He did not do well at Arsenal. Like it's hit and miss with Unai Emery, and I just don't trust him. I think he got that squad together and playing after Steven Gerrard did whatever the hell it was he was doing, and they were awful.
Awful. I forgot Gerrard was managing.
They were absolutely terrible, and Unai Emery came in and got them together and play like a team, and they finished 7th. Good on them. They've got the European football, like Trevor mentioned. I just don't know how all of this is going to go this year with them. They haven't made a really big signing. I mean, Yuri Tielemans, sure.
Solid midfielder, but it's not what you'd expect from a club getting European football, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know what to expect from Villa this year. I don't think they're going to finish as high as 7th again. and I don't see them doing anything in the Conference League. But then again, I didn't see West Ham doing anything in the Conference League last year either with how they were in the Premier League, and they won the damn thing. So who knows?
Emery, to me, just before we move, it feels a lot like new manager syndrome, where like a new manager comes in with a bit of fresh tactics that just kind of livens it up. Like it's giving when Jose Mourinho came into Tottenham and he was like good. Same thing with Antonio Conte. Good for like a solid 6 months, picked up the club from like a bad spot for like, a couple months. And then once people were like, okay, we are now on the wavelength of what you're bringing with the squad, immediately shut down. And I'm not saying I think that will happen, but I could see a very similar thing happen again, as we've said so many times, with the additional stress on the team with European football. I don't see the same type of success being like. I don't think they'll be in danger of like relegation or anything insane like that. But I think a solid, Crystal Palace mid-table finish was
exactly what I was thinking as well. Yep. Okay, let's move on to the Brentford Bees, another West London club. Thomas Frank still managing there. They finished 9th. Top 10 for them. I think that'll be quite difficult to replicate. Yeah. And we'll talk about why in a minute. Players coming in, not many. Like Mark Flecken from Freiburg is in. He's a goalkeeper who only has 12 appearances, but he may end up getting more depending on what happens in this transfer window. And they also got Kevin Schade from Freiburg, and he might play well too with these guys, but really when it comes down to it, like their defense isn't terrific. They got guys like Zanka and they got Rico Henry and stuff. Not terrific. I think their midfield is still quite good. I love Wissa, and Bumo, maybe one of my favorite names to say in the Premier League, and that's important. And then up front, and up front is where the real story is, isn't it? Yeah. We're talking Keane Lewis Potter. No, I'm just kidding. Ivan Toney won't be able to play until mid-January because he likes to put some money down on things, I guess. Not very smart to do. How huge of an impact is one of the best strikers in the Premier League being gone for the first 4 months of the season? How hard is that going to hit them?
I mean, he scored 20 goals in the Premier League last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a lot of goals to miss.
Kind of hard.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, especially if they lose Raya as well. Like, I mean, David Raya and Ivan Toney felt like two of like, if not the two biggest, players at the club. And if at least for the first half of the season, they'll be without both of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like it could be rough. And also Tony will be coming in, like, it won't be like he'll just be magically back up to form mid-season. Like, he's going to be coming in fresh without any game time. Everybody else is going to be mid-season form. So you aren't even going to have peak Tony when he comes back. Like,
no. I believe he gets to he gets to start practicing with the squad again in November, I believe.
Yeah.
So at least he'll have practices in, but that is a huge difference between practices and games. So it's going to be tough getting him up to speed. Maybe another month because he didn't have a preseason as well. So you're looking at a mid-February return for the real Ivan Toney. I think that's a hugely damaging. Now, I still don't see them being relegated.
No.
But yeah, I believe their spot in the top 10 is in serious doubt, though.
Yeah, and let's be honest, people like Brentford, and we'll talk about Fulham, but like a lot of the bigger clubs, and yes, I am going to refer to Tottenham as a big club, had a poor season last year. I mean, you obviously are aware of that, but like, I mean, there were a lot of clubs that just had really poor or just middling seasons that you would have expected to be higher, and it really opened the door for like this really tight. I mean, I remember like with like 2 match weeks left, the gap from like 6th all the way down to like 10th or 11th was like 3 or 4 points. Like it was like really, really congested in that middle section, the most congested it's been in that section of the table in a while. Also with the lowest point totals in a while in that section of the table. So I don't want to call last season a fluke, but it feels like a lot of these, smaller clubs, I guess, just had the right things happen at the right time for them to get up into these spots. And I don't necessarily know if we're going to see that happen again this year.
Yeah, pretty tough. Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk our good buddies over here at Chelsea, Brighton and Hove Albion. Some major changes to this squad as well. De Zerbi with his first full season in charge, and again, another candidate for manager of the year. I think he did terrific taking over for Graham Potter. He's going to have to deal with some huge minuses from his squad. We're talking Alexis McAllister already gone to Liverpool. Got to see some of that warm-up match they had against that German squad today.
Yeah.
And he looks very good there. He looks very natural at Liverpool, which is not great. They also just lost their goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez, to Chelsea in a $25 million deal. I'm looking at their goalkeepers now, and whoa, okay. We'll talk about that in a minute.
I've heard good things about Verbruggen, for the record, coming from Anderlecht.
Well, he's only made 8 appearances. So
these aren't public. I've heard internally good things.
Yeah, it's a very small sample size.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that Tom McGill gets some playing time, just he's Canadian, but it looks like it's going to go to Jason Steele to be the final line of defense for Brighton. So I think that's going to put them in a big hole, especially because they're going to be playing for European spots as well. They're playing. Is that the crazy league that West Ham won? Is that what they're playing this year? The conference, what is it? The Europa Conference League or whatever it is. The bloody thing.
I think Brighton's just in Europa.
Okay. So they brought in James Milner, which as a story is fine. If he plays most of the year, I think he needs 34 appearances to have the most appearances all time in the Premier League. So good for him. They still got good players. I'm looking at the back line right now. Lewis Dunk, of course, is going to stand out from there. Their midfielders, again, some of my favorite names anyway. Solly March, I love that one. Maybe my favorite spelling in the world in Pascal Gross. And of course, I love Matoma. But does Moises Caicedo stay or go? This is an awful lot of money, and these guys are playing cricket with Chelsea right now, and it's getting to a point where I would not blame Chelsea if they pivot. I do believe they think that central defending midfielder is what they need. It'll just help keep Enzo playing forward and not have to worry about going back. And he plays more forward. He plays, the more involved he is in the play, the more damage he can do. And they've paid an awful lot of money for him as well. But you're talking, if they sign Caicedo for $100 million or £100 million, that's $200 million worth of midfielder on the field at the same time, which is pretty friggin' remarkable. And the front, of course, Danny Welbeck in Ciso. Of course, one of the goals of the year last year. Absolutely amazing. Because City scored against Chelsea as well. And Danny Welbeck. So, it's a little more thin up front, but we'll see if Enciso's ready to be the everyday striker.
They also brought in João Pedro as well for a club record.
Yeah, João Pedro is coming in. Yeah, all right. He has 25 goals total so far through 114 appearances, it says. So we'll see. From Watford, I believe, right?
Yeah. I imagine he's going to get playing time, though, considering, again, they broke their club record transfer fee to bring him in. So it would be strange to me if he didn't get playing time. Up front.
They're going to have to run. Are they going to run a 4-3-3?
I don't know.
It's going to be maybe they could probably run a 3-4-3 just with all the midfielders they have. I don't know. This is what they paid De Zerbi for, and this is his baby now. So that being said, does Brighton still play for European football? I think that some of the minuses are far outweighing some of the positives from this offseason.
Yeah, and again, they'll have to balance the European football throughout this season, and it is quite difficult for some of these clubs that are able to sneak into these spots. I mean, we've seen this before where a club will get into a spot and then they'll have trouble balancing it and then, fall out of it for next season. And I could see a similar thing happening. I don't think they fall from top 10 or anything like that. I could even see them being competitive to potentially get that like Conference League spot at number 7, especially, because with the new Champions League format, there's going to be like expanded. I don't know if the Premier League's getting an extra European spot. I don't know how all that's going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think they'll still be competitive. I don't know if we're going to see another top 6 finish though.
I think it'd be pretty remarkable if we did, but I keep expecting all these teams to drop down, and some teams actually have to stick around or move
right.
up.
Somebody has to stay up.
Somebody's gonna stay up at some point here, I would imagine. Okay, let's move on from Brighton. I spent too much of my year last year talking about friggin' Brighton. We'll talk about the first new relegated club from relegation club in Burnley, and welcoming back Victor Company and Company. Get it? All right. So Victor Company is the manager at Burnley. All I've heard, they won the Champions League. They won their league, or their championship league. So all I've heard about Burnley and about the Clares is they're an incredibly fast offensive team. People saying it's one of the most dangerous looking offensive teams that the championship has ever seen. Do you think this can somehow translate through to the Premiership?
I personally think they stay up.
Yeah.
Off of what I've seen, they look really promising. They look very exciting. They've also brought in, I think, a really promising young goalkeeper in James Trafford coming in from City. Did amazingly in the U21, U23, 23 Euros. There's so many different U20 things.
Well, people to play over there for sure.
But yeah, I mean, he looked really, really fantastic, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the Premier League. So like, I don't know. I'm talking about them like they're going to be great. I don't see them getting out of the bottom half of the table, but I think by the end of the year, they'll be able to put together just enough to be out of the relegation zone.
Right. They have to be better than 3 other squads, and I think they should be. I can see them sticking around. The only real name I know, like just looking around and stuff, like some names are familiar to me, but of course, a favorite of ours from the World Cup in a brief spell in, what was it, Liverpool last year, Wout Weghorst.
He was at United last year, not Liverpool.
Was that United? I could see a red shirt in my head, but I couldn't remember which one. Did not do much for them. I know that. I think
he
did
not.
One goal. But yeah, it was fun to hear the call last year when we were covering.
Our reaction to his goal in the World Cup was something.
Yeah.
We had a live stream going on, and it was something. I don't see them being relegated. They're going to finish somewhere, I think, in that sort of like middle range of the bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
They haven't really played anybody of real note in the preseason that made you think that like they're really getting ready for this. Like we had all the Premier League teams playing each other in America and stuff like that. They were playing people like Fleetwood and Burton and Port Vale. They did play Benfica and beat them. I'll give them that. Sure. But you can't really go by much in preseason with stuff like this. I think Vincent Kompany's a good manager. I think they are a fun team to watch. I think it's going to be real interesting to see that very first game of the season on Friday between them and City. I know there's a lot of people putting a lot of hype on that because of Kompany playing for City for so many years. I think it'll be interesting to sort of barometer to see where Burnley's at. I don't see them winning that game or anything like that. But if they can go out there and have a really competitive game against City, I think they'll probably be all right. If they get trounced, then I think they might be in some trouble.
I'm looking for like a 1-2 goal game, like 2 goal game maximum. Like if they can keep it like 2-0, 3-1, something like that, then like I'll feel decent about them because obviously first game of the season, room to improve. But yeah, as you say, if it's like 5-0, 6-0, then like okay, well maybe maybe they'll be going straight back down.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, alphabetically, it's a certain team. It's the pride of London and always will be forever and ever. We got Chelsea Football Club. Uh, new a new coach. Since last season started, this is our fourth manager. Uh, maybe Trevor's favorite manager in the world. Mauricio
Genuinely, yes, I love him.
Yeah. Now, to say that there's been some flux in Chelsea, that there's been some changes. There's been some changes. Let's just see. I'll
Your
run off.
entire squad.
I'm not gonna say all of them. I'm not gonna say all of them. N'Golo Kante, Kalidou Koulibaly, yay, get out of here. Mateo Kovacic over at City, looking like a sloth over there too, which is fine. Edward Mendy gone, good, bye. Again, the aforementioned Kai Havertz. One that's sad for me, seeing Ruben Loftus-Cheek go to AC Milan. He's going over there with his buddy Christian Pulisic. Yet another one gone. The Rat, Mason Mount, is over at good old Man U now. Sad. One of the saddest goodbye vlogs or whatever I've ever seen. And Dave saying goodbye to Chelsea after winning every title he could possibly win. He's gone to Atletico Madrid, and Abba somehow got signed in the French league. He got signed with Marseille. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for your contribution. Maybe not you, Abba, so much, or Koulibaly. We bring in Christopher Nkunku, Golden Ball winner in the Bundesliga. This is not a surprise. It shouldn't even have been a transfer in this window. It was already agreed to throughout last season. We all knew. We just had to wait for him to finish with his French team stuff or whatever. Anyways, he came into the squad, played preseason games, looked great. Gets his friggin' knee hurt in that shit pitch over at Soldier Field, so he might be out for a bit. So we might have to do something about that, which sucks. And always the rumors between everybody who's available is going to Chelsea. So, spoiler alert.
Mbappe, right? You're getting Mbappe.
Yeah, spoiler alert. We're not going to sign Mbappe on a loan for 1 year. But now there's
coming to the MLS, which is obviously what we all know is happening with him.
No shit. Now Neymar says he wants to go. Guess who's a 2-1 favorite to get him? It's like, guys, like we would have loved to have had him 5 years ago. Like, do you think that Neymar sells shirts the way he did 5 years ago? He does not. Anyways, Nicholas Jackson we get, and maybe the steal of the year from Villarreal. We got him for $35 million, and he looks like the second coming of the king. He has been terrific. And still so young. There's so much room to grow with these guys. Angelo Gabriel's in from Santos. Just got Axel Diassi, I should say, from Monaco. And then again, Sanchez. Just somebody push Azpilicueta, what's that goalie's name? Kepa Arrizabalaga. That's why I got them mixed up. Still a bloated squad. We have an incredible amount of goalkeepers now for some reason. We're going to have to loan out Slonina somewhere, I would hope, within Europe. I don't think we'd send him back to the MLS, but we've got guys like Jamie coming here for some reason. Eddie Beach needs to go somewhere. Bergstrom. The defense is going to be better. We got Levi Colwill back from Brighton, signed him to another long extension, 6 years. He's looked terrific so far in the preseason. Ben Chilwell has been terrific in the preseason. Wesley Fofana, obviously injured, because that's all he ever is injured, it seems. And that looks like he's a great player when he's healthy. Unfortunately, that is few and far between. Same could be said with Reece James. Reece James should be the captain of this squad, but is he going to play enough for that to really matter? I'd love if somebody just decided to come and say, we'll take Marc Cucurella off your hands because I think he's trash. Benoit Badiashile would be good. Thiago Silva still playing like he's 25 and a 38-year-old.
39 years old or something like that.
Yeah. incredible. Guys, look out for guys like Ian Matson. Ian Matson has the ability to play not just defense but midfield and forward. He's been really remarkable to watch, I think. But all this being said, is the preseason. You look at our midfield. Uh, Again, there's talent after talent. It's about putting it together now. Uh, Even Conor Gallagher looks good. He looks like he's gained a whole lot of muscle. I don't know why Hakim Ziyech is still on this club. I think he's hurt and no one will take him. I'd love to see Mudryk get an expanded role this year. He's just so fast and so skilled. That goal he scored was really terrific, and so should be good. Lewis Hall, again, another guy who can play out in the wings or even play in the back if you need them to, which is good. And Andre Santos was terrific in his under-20s. And then Cesar Cassidy, of course, was also very good. But this team needs goals. They were awful at it last year. Raheem Sterling, yeah, I know why he's on the club, because it's going to be impossible for anybody to take him, especially at that money. Broya, poor guy, just can't seem to get a break. Last year, he finally gets his chance. He plays one game and gets injured. He's out. We still haven't gotten rid of Romelu Lukaku, and there's that.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to do that.
There's a way, like as a Juvie wants to give us Vlahovic for Lukaku, as long as we also give them $40 million.
Somehow we're gonna lose Kane and then end up with Lukaku. Like somehow that's gonna happen. And
I would say I wouldn't wish that on my own worst enemy, so I don't even wish that on Tottenham. Like,
yeah,
this guy, yeah, it's something. We're gonna talk about the Kane situation in a minute.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, and then like Angelo and Mason Burstows look good. Chelsea seems to be getting all the pieces together. They're incredibly young. If they get rid of guys like Raheem Sterling and they get rid of Lukaku and stuff like that, they're just become even younger. Maybe one of the youngest squads in the Premier League. All these guys signed for years and years and years. So of course, Chelsea, back to their winning ways already, maybe winning the most coveted trophy in all of sports, in winning the Premier League Summer Series championship in the USA, and it's a great honor. That thing looks like a big margarita glass. I thought it was hilarious. Oh my
Genuinely
God.
didn't know that they kept a table for that.
Yeah, they did. They're much better. From all intents and purposes, Poch has that team fit as a fiddle. They all seem incredibly fast, and they all seem bought in, which is something that did not happen last year.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking at all that Chelsea is going to burst their way into to Premiership title territory. Do you guys see Chelsea being able to move up from, of course, 12th, which was the worst that I've ever remembered? Can they get European spots in this new Premier season?
I think Europe, I feel pretty good about. I don't know about Champions League quite yet.
Right.
We'll have to see how they play, but I feel pretty good about Chelsea getting Europe. And like as you alluded to, obviously been a Tottenham fan for a while. When I came into being a Tottenham fan, it was like Kane's first season and Pochettino coming in, and he was putting together this great team. We actually had center backs. It was crazy. And I don't know. I think this is going to be a really fun team to watch, and particularly looking at your wingbacks, looking at people like Reece James and Ben Chilwell. Because if you remember in that Tottenham squad, like we had like Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier. I mean, you remember Danny Rose? Remember him?
Of course.
It was a pretty fun team, and we'd have a couple holding midfielders drop back, and these wingbacks would get really, really far forward. And I think we'll see a very similar thing, especially with obviously once Jackson is not injured anymore and stuff, like could have a sort of what Kane and Dele Alli had with this like Nkunku Jackson like false 9 number 9 situation. So like the way that Pochettino builds teams is very exciting, and it's very attacking, and they're just very, very fun to watch. So I'm really curious to see the tone, I guess, that this team sets within the first couple match weeks.
Yeah. Anything will be well. They played okay those first couple of weeks. I think that that draw against Tottenham was a damn shame at the bridge, and that's almost squarely on the referee. But anyways, we'll see.
I won't deny.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea will be offensively better this year. I mean, you
They
can't
can't be worse.
much worse than they were last year offensively. It remains to be seen to me how all of these players that you brought in are going to gel into a team. But I mean, that's the beginning of any season. You just don't know how that's going to go with any of these clubs.
Yep.
You guys didn't play like much of a team last year, so it will be interesting to see if this year Pochettino can get them to work together. I think that Chelsea will be better than last year. I think Europe is a possibility. I'm not sure you're going to reach the Champions League spots.
Yeah.
But remains to be seen. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I think that Poch is kind of the perfect manager for this project, though, if I'm being honest. Like, it really does feel like we're Tottenham more at that point. Just a bit all over the place and just filling the club with really, really young, promising players that are really going to be able to play his style of attacking football. I think even if it isn't necessarily this year, I think that Chelsea in the next couple of years could be looking really, really strong, as long as obviously all of this pans out the way that we think it will. So.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'll ask for a top 5 at the end of the episode, but yeah, I would not put Chelsea in the Champions League spots, but I just want to see a competitive squad again because last year, especially when Lamps took over, they were it was like shooting fish in a barrel. It was terrible. Let's move on. Crystal Palace, a team that actually finished one spot above Chelsea last year. They finished in 11th. Roy Hodgson is back again. They'll bring him out in a wheelchair or in a gurney or whatever they have to do to get him out there. Jefferson Lerma and Chris Francis both coming in from Fulham. It's not as much about the coming in, it's that the going out. And one of the most enigmatic players in the Premier League is now playing his trade in Turkey. Wilfred Zaha is gone to Galatasaray. They still got some good players, like Gui. They might have Michael Olise. He might be gone in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. We'll see. But I do like Eze and Jordan Ayew. Yeah, I think they're terrific. But if Olise goes, it's a pretty lackluster squad, and they have to get the ball up front somehow. You can't just depend on Eze and Ayew, like Eze to Ayew the entire time or whatever. It's easy enough to break that down. So if he goes, do you see trouble ahead for Palace, or do you figure they're in that safe spot? They're in that like 11th to 14th spot.
Crystal Palace will never leave that safe spot, and you can never convince me of anything otherwise. Like, I genuinely don't know if I've ever seen them finish like maybe one season outside of that 10 to 14 range. It's just, it doesn't matter how potentially promising or bad they look at any point in the season. They're just always going to be there. And I genuinely think it would be miserable to be a Crystal Palace fan. Like, I'd rather be in a relegation battle every year. Like, I don't know. Crystal Palace is just like such a nothing team, and that sounds really cruel. But like, they're just always there, and nothing happens with them.
They're like the definition of mediocrity.
Absolutely. And like, honestly, I hope SA gets out, because we saw Zaha, I don't want to say wasted, but he was kind of wasted. His prime came and went, and he was good at Palace, but I think that he could have played and started and done quite well at like a bigger club in the Premier League or elsewhere in Europe. And I'm hoping that the same thing doesn't happen to SA, because SA looks really, really promising and just a very electrifying player. So we'll see, but I don't even know if there's much to have a conversation. Like, they're just going to be there, and they'll be fine.
They'll be fine. they're not going anywhere.
No.
Let's move on to a team that might be going somewhere, and that's Everton. Now Sean Dyche has them for the whole year, or at least until he gets canned. At
Yeah,
some
he's not
point.
lasting the whole year. Let's be honest.
No. Really, no big names to think about going out. Really, Ishii Samuel Smith over to Chelsea, but Ashley Young getting picked up as a free agent, and then Juma coming in on loan from Villarreal. Still some good players. For somehow, Jordan Pickford is still the English first choice goaltender. We got James Tarkowski there. Michael Keane's fine on defense. Yeah. Who else they have? Really, it's they got Dele Alli.
God, I hope that he makes a comeback. I mean,
It would be a great story.
I love him. I don't know. This Everton squad, it just like they have solid players throughout, but absolutely nothing excites me about them.
No, I think they're forward. I think they're like I love Damari Gray. I think Iwobi is really good as well. They got to get the ball to them. I'm just looking at like maybe Dele Alli will be enough. Maybe the time he had to take or whatever is going to be a benefit to him. I sure hope so. But you're looking at guys like Andre Gomez or James Garner or something like that. Doucouré. None of that is exciting. I don't see how the ball moves up the field at all. So they barely eke by. They barely stayed in. Leicester goes home, not them. I don't think they're making it this year. I think they're the 17th or the 18th team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they've done pretty much nothing to improve the squad. I mean, Ashley Young is 38 years old at this point.
Yeah.
I know they brought in the guy on loan. Sure, they don't have any money. And it's going to be a real shame, I think, if this is the last season they go to St. Park and they get relegated. But I think that they kind of.
Did you see that stadium they're getting? Wow.
For the championship, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The best mid-table fucking club ever to have that stadium. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Terrific.
The way that we're talking about Everton right now screams of how everybody was talking about Leicester at the beginning of last year.
Yeah.
And we all know how that they have promising players, obviously players like James Maddison, players like Jamie Vardy, they have really solid players, but they just weren't doing anything as a club. And I feel like they may have played with fire a bit too much. I don't know. I don't see a world where Everton stay up this year.
No.
All right. Next team we're going to talk about is a team I dislike even more than Tottenham, which is pretty outstanding. We're going to talk about the Fulham Football Club. Marcos Silva still there. Now, they bring in Raul Jimenez from Wolves, and we'll talk about that when we get to friggin' Wolves.
Wolves
really
symbolic, let's be honest.
Yeah, it was tough for me to put Everton in the spot because it was really between them and Wolves the entire time. It's just maybe Wolves can do something, but
why not both?
Yeah, well, that would be remarkable. Willian is still there. I'll never say a bad word about him in my life. But he's getting older. Carlos Vinicius has played well, and he's had quite a few chances because the guy that he's behind in Mitrovic was suspended for so much of last season. He should have been suspended for the entire thing. They decided to let him back with 2 games. It was ridiculous. Their goaltending is fine with Leno. But will Mitrovic be around the entire year?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's going to be. Now, to see him leave in this transfer window would be remarkable, but I don't see why he wouldn't head out in January. But
I think he's gone in January, and I don't even really think there's that much of a doubt about it. I would be shocked if he stays at the club, genuinely shocked. And like Carlos Vinicius isn't bad,
He's fine.
but I don't know how he's gonna necessarily fill
to
this year.
be your starting number 9.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, and they just have no. Again, it's the same kind of problem. Their midfield is not great. Harry Wilson, Harrison
Yeah.
Reed, you know, whatever. Like none of this screams. Oh, we're gonna be well. We're gonna play well. I think Fulham takes a major step back. They finished 10th last year. I don't think they'll be relegated, but I could see a 15th or 16th spot for them.
Absolutely. I think that was just a syndrome of, again, a lot of clubs having a very mediocre season and
Yeah.
them just having the right run at the right time. But I
Yeah,
fully agree. Yeah.
they got off to good enough start last year to stay in that
Mhm.
spot. When they started to falter in the second half of the season, like we said, Mitrovic was gone for 8 games or whatever it was because he was an idiot in the FA Cup. So with Mitrovic gone, they brought in Raul Jimenez, who couldn't score for Wolves last year. So I don't know why Fulham thinks he's gonna score for them this year.
Yeah.
They're in some trouble. I don't
They're
think
in
they'll
trouble.
get relegated necessarily, but they're in some trouble.
They're in a
Yeah.
lot of trouble. They're in that downward spiral now, where if it's not this year, it'll be next year. It's coming. I don't see a
Yeah.
way they can pull out of the tailspin. We'll go to a team that did kind of the opposite. Fulham started
Yeah.
off well, sank. This team did not start off well, but really closed very well. We're talking about Liverpool Football Club, and there's been changes there. Big name coming in, Alexis McAllister from
Yeah.
Brighton, another World Cup winner. Lots of players out the door. Firmino, James Milner, we talked about, went to Brighton. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, they just dropped him, and he hasn't been picked up or anything. It'd be difficult to see him signing anywhere in the Premier League, anyways. Jordan Henderson going over to Saudi Arabia, which I think is a pretty big surprise. Not something I
Yeah.
saw coming.
Yeah.
Fabinho, yeah, so Fabinho, we knew something was going to happen, but to lose Jordan Henderson was quite a surprise, I think. They're still an incredibly talented squad, if not for that first half. Very inconsistent, a much stronger second half. Allison, I think, is maybe one of the most overrated goalkeepers in the world. I just don't like him. Defensively, they've got a huge star in Trent Alexander-Arnold. Virgil van Dijk, I think, is again very overrated, but
Falling off a bit. Yeah.
New club captain
he
Virgil van
is
Dijk.
the new club captain, which I
Is he
thought was,
really?
yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that was quite strange. Um, let's see, moving into the midfield, of course, Alexis McAllister. Uh, really not the strong. Maybe that's not their strongest area. It would be the midfield. Up front, you got Mo Salah, you got Cody Gakpo, Diogo Jota, who was terrific. Luis Diaz has been great. Darwin Nunez, I think he finished the year much better than he started.
I think he could be a lot
Yeah.
better this year. I don't know. I think he showed enough promise, and like if you look at I'm blanking on his previous club, but like his first season wasn't the strongest, and then second season ended up being a lot stronger.
Right.
And I think we could see a similar pattern for him. But it was interesting. Liverpool at the time of recording this, they had a friendly against Darmstadt today, and their lineup was quite fascinating because they played with Jota, Diaz, Salah, and Gakpo all starting. And Gakpo almost looked like he was in a more reserved role, kind of coming from the midfield, which was quite interesting with Diaz, Jota, and Salah up top. And obviously, that still doesn't leave room for Darwin Nunez to come in.
No, he's going to be coming off the bench for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if Gakpo will continue to play in that midfield type role, or if you move Salah back. I don't know. I don't know how that works, or if you just play 4 up front and Klopp just goes for it. But he's really, really loaded with attacking options.
Yeah. They even have a young man named Bobby Clark over there. That's quite a familiar looking name. Yeah, I think there's not much question that Liverpool should do well. But how well? Do you expect them to rejoin that race for the top spot, or do you think Champions League is about where they could top out?
I think Champions League's probably the most they're
Yeah.
going to get. I can't see them fighting for the title this year. I mean, I'm still somewhat confused as to what their midfield's going to look like. They've got a ton of attacking options, and they've got a pretty set defensive options. But that midfield, who knows what that's going to look like and how it's going to work. I think they can probably make Champions League maybe this year, but I don't think they're challenging for the title.
Yeah,
No, I don't think
it's
they're
tough.
anywhere close to. Just looking at the squad, like this isn't a Premier League winning squad. Like I think they're going to be in that like 4 to 6 range or so. Either barely making champions. Like I don't think they miss out on European football or anything like that. But they're far from a lock, I think, to make Champions League football.
It'd be tough for them. Let's move on. We've talked enough about damn Liverpool. Let's talk about a club we have never talked about before. One of the newly promoted squads with maybe the most fascinating place to play in all of the Premier League. We're talking Luton Town and their stadium, Kenilworth Road. To go into the stadium, like the players are going to be passing by like people's bedrooms. This is fascinating. Yeah. I love it. I will watch every single home Luton Town game. I think it's terrific.
Yeah.
Lots of jokes about how if there's a VAR check, the ref will just go into someone's living room and watch the replay back on TV.
Let's get the guy. Get the guy to turn the volume up really loud or whatever. Is it good?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Now,
as fun as this is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We alluded to a 20th place team earlier.
Yeah.
And I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
It's going to be real tough for them.
Yeah.
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 I think they're a tremendous story going from non-league football all the way back up to the Premier League. I think it's great that there's a couple of players on the squad that were on that non-league team that are now going to be Premier League players. But you look at that squad and it's just like, this is not a Premier League staying kind of team.
Shocked they made it out of the championship. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm genuinely shocked they made it through this playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what. I think that's what makes it a great story. But that's unfortunately like Cinderella's slipper is about to slip off, and they're going to get their heads pounded in for about 38 times or so. But
it's even like Huddersfield Town being in it. It's like really like, and I think they even like stayed up for a season, but like still like it's Huddersfield Town. Like I don't know. Like I don't see.
No. Yeah. Gee whiz. Like I'm hoping they can get like 8 wins. I think that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think they will. Let's be honest.
On paper, they I don't want to say objectively, but like I feel like objectively they are just not stronger than any other squad.
There.
Like they should be the underdogs in every single match, which is never a good spot to be going into the season.
No.
Yeah.
Still, it'll be terrific fun to watch the games at their home team at their home park or whatever until they are booted and stuff like that, and we can always remember that. Now, the next team we'll talk about, we don't need to spend much time on because they're good. All right, we get it. We get it. Man City wins the treble last year like a bunch of show-offs. A bunch of tryhards. They bring in Kovacic from Chelsea for some reason. I guess they figure he can fill a space for a bit if someone gets injured or something. Yeah, Gundogan's gone to Barcelona. James Trafford's gone, as we've talked about, and Mahrez is gone over to Saudi Arabia. They also bring in Gvardiol, who's Kovacic's teammate in Croatia and stuff too. But he's a really sought after defender. I know he's a guy that Chelsea was also looking for quite a bit last year. There were rumors that Leipzig wanted 100 million for him. They settle on $90 million or 90 million euros.
Yeah.
90 million euros to sign this guy, which is an incredible amount. I guess they said it's not quite Harry Maguire money. Because there's no add-ons. I guess the add-ons or something. But yeah, the roster stacked. pick a spot where they're not great. I can't find anything. Where are they weak?
Yeah.
Where are these guys weak?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think keeping Kyle Walker is huge because he was very heavily rumored to go to Munich, but the fact that Pep was able to keep him in the squad, I mean, just that back line, like, you have Kyle Walker, you have Nathan Ake, you have Akanji, you have Ruben Diaz, you have John Stones, like, it's just ridiculous how strong they are, and, you know, it's not like they have, like when, like, Real Madrid would just, like, pull in, like, you know, the best possible players that they could, like, it's just players that work really, really well in Pep's system. And Pep's system just elevates all of these players to make them, you know, look as good as we see them every week.
Do you know how much it hurts me to see Kevin De Bruyne play for City so well? Oh my god! All right.
I mean, yeah, the midfield, like De Bruyne, Grealish. I mean, Julian Alvarez is look good. I mean, now Kovacic. Now you have Rodri. You have Bernardo Silva still there. Phil Foden, by the way. Like,
I still say Phil Foden looks like Draco's buddy there from Harry Potter.
But like genuinely, I think that they could field a starting 11 and then field a second starting 11, and that team would finish like upper, like, you know, like
It finished in European spot. It'd be a European spot.
Yeah. Like their second starting 11 would probably be in like that 5, 6, 7 range. So like, it's ridiculous.
They're the favorites.
Yes, they're spoiled with riches, top to bottom. Fantastic manager, an owner that's willing to give him what he wants. To say
they're trying to win. They're trying to win the Premier League for the 4th year in a row. No one's ever done that.
Never.
So,
but it's wild that it would be this groundbreaking thing, like never been done. But I'm like, I would be shocked if they didn't do it, and like I'd also be shocked if they didn't win the Champions League. Like it's to the point where it's like they're breaking all these records, and it's more surprising if they don't.
Yeah. It's very sad for me. Let's move on to another team I can't stand, and they're crosstown rivals in United. They got better. You know, Mason Mount I dislike as a human being, but at one time he was a very good football player. They bring in Onana, who is their top choice, getting rid of David De Gea, who didn't he win like the Golden Glove last year?
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did he ever find a new club yet? Did that happen?
No, which is surprising.
Okay, because Tottenham's in the same position with Hugo Lloris, where like we brought in a new keeper, and Lloris is just still sitting on our squad without a new club.
Yeah.
So very strange.
And they just spend 85 million euros to get Erasmus Højlund out of Atalanta. How many goals again for Erasmus Højlund?
He scored 9 goals last year for Atalanta.
9.
Okay, listen, do we think they paid a little bit extra because his name sounds a little bit like Erling Haaland? Like, let's be honest.
I think they did. I think you're exactly right. So they move up. Onana is going to be their first choice keeper. He was a Champions League, was it a finalist or whatever last year? It's like very, very good. I like the way that he plays. He's a very progressive, and he'll play high up into his box and distribute the ball. He can play almost like a third center back. It makes for some interesting formations that they can use. Defensively, these guys haven't done much.
Harry Maguire.
He's still there.
The GOAT, the greatest center back of all time.
Right. And then you got like Luke Shaw. There's a spot where you know where they're thin, and that's defensively. You can get to them. Their midfielders are pretty good. Let's just say that they're pretty good. As much as I dislike Bruno Fernandes, he's a very good football player. Mm-hmm. Christian Eriksen, a healthy Christian Eriksen is a good thing. Fred still might be moved out. There's a very good chance Fred doesn't start the year with United. Does Casemiro ever become more than a bench guy? They better hope so. They paid an awful lot of money for him as well. But Mason Mount is going to run their midfield for them now, I would imagine.
Also Nacho in there as well. We'll see if he amounts to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but then you go up front, and there's some good choices. Martial is fine. Anthony good. But of course, Marcus Rashford is the star for Man United.
Yeah.
do they move Hoyland? Do they put him as again like a false nine or a number 10 or wherever
think moving
they're paying an awful
Rashford
lot
up
of
in the
money for this
game.
guy? Yeah.
I honestly feel like Hoyland just takes the number 9 role, and then you start playing Rashford out at like left wing or something like
Yeah,
that.
maybe they can find a spot that's just more comfortable for him. Maybe he becomes the false nine. His number is 10, so that would make sense for him to do that.
Yeah.
But this means guys coming off the bench. So bench, like, they're deep up front. They're just so poor in the back that it makes things a little more fair for everybody else, which
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Moving on. I don't. Do you think they keep? Do you think they keep a top 5 spot, Man U? Do you think that was enough?
Probably.
I think so. I mean, I don't want to say like we're just gonna get the same top 5 as last year,
Right.
but I that's where I'm really leaning towards at this point. Like yes, United have losses. Like they just they feel very equal coming into the season as they left last season.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good spot to be if you're them. I don't think they're going to come anywhere close to challenging for the title. They'll be in and around the top 4. But as you said, like their attack is just so strong. If Hoyland pans out, like their attack is just gonna be so strong that I think potentially give them a couple years to shore up the defense, and we could be looking at a title contender. But for this year, I mean, yeah, I think top 5 is very reasonable.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Let's move to Newcastle, who had a terrific year last year. I think Eddie Howe did very well for them. They finished 4th. They're playing in the Champions League this year, and they say it was the first time in 20-something years that's happened.
Newcastle gives a bit of PTSD for me, but we're yeah.
We so they have they're the richest owners in sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's not skip that.
But
But maybe they're the cheapest because they really haven't done anything. Again,
They
got Sandro Tonali in from Milan, and they bring. I think in a good signing, they get Harvey Barnes. I think Harvey Barnes is one of the better of those Leicester guys that got relegated last year. Didn't lose much. Chris Wood moving to Nottingham Forest.
Nobody cares.
No, Alain Saint Maxim over into the Saudis and stuff like that. Again, not a big deal, but they didn't really improve. I think their goaltending is fine with Nick Pope.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of your all-time favorites has to be Kieran Trippier.
Love Trips. Adore
Kieran there. I'm just looking at the rest of their defense. I like Sven Botman. I think he's very good as well. But really, that's about it. I think the rest of their depth guys, even guys like Matt Target, who's played a lot or whatever, but you don't hear his name much, which either means that he's doing his job really well or that people just want to forget. In the midfield, a guy that I said a few times last year might be something special, but he really did tail off in the second half, and that's Miguel Almiron. I still like him. I still think he can be a hell of a player in the league. Joe Willock is very good. Guimaraes is also very good for them. They are solid in the midfield, especially with the Harvey Barnes coming in now.
And like Almiron has also looked fairly decent in preseason as well. Like I still agree. I think that Almiron could be really special. I mean, former MLS player, which is always fun to see making the journey over.
Yeah, we won't hold that against him.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, also just looking up top, I mean, Alexander Isak, I think is, I don't want to call him underrated, but I think he's a pretty solid striker.
I love Alexander Isak, and I think we also mentioned that a couple of times last year. He was on that hot streak of just putting in goals, just filling the net for weeks and stuff like that. Really taking on the load after Almiron or whatever started really slowing down. I think Isak was terrific. And then guys like Callum Wilson is good. I think Anthony Gordon coming over from Everton in the mid-season or whatever was a good signing for him. He's a good guy for this team off the bench. I think Joe Linton was a bit of a disappointment, but I think he is still a good player.
Yeah, and they're spoiled attacking, like especially
Yeah.
now with Tonali. Like you have Tonali, you have Isak. I mean, Callum Wilson's still really solid. Harvey Barnes as well. Like even if it's just like a front three of the, I don't know. Like eh, they could just play some really really fun attacking football. Also, keep an eye on the Swedish national team's attack because they're going to have Isak, Dan Kulusevski, one of my favorites over at Tottenham, looking really good. We'll see if Sweden can put something together. But yeah, I don't know.
I always look for the Swedish national team. I'm a big fan of Swedes.
But yeah, I mean this Newcastle squad, like they haven't improved by much, but they also really didn't lose that much. And Tonali is a pretty massive signing, and I think that he could do really well. Especially he fits in really well with Eddie Howe's brand of football.
Right.
So like I see Newcastle's keeping top five. They're like in this realm of these clubs like Brentford and Brighton and Villa and Fulham, even like these non-top six clubs, I guess, that ended up making a really strong run. Newcastle's the only one that I feel fairly confidently that they will stick around up there. And again, the one thing is with the lack of I guess quantity in signings, what is the depth looking like for Champions League? Because it's the Champions League. But I also feel like they could do, like, I see them making it out of the group, honestly, for Champions League. Obviously, we don't know what the draw is yet. But I could see them doing fairly well. I like this Newcastle squad a lot.
I like the Newcastle squad a lot too. I think that they're, like Trevor said, the one team that overachieved last year that I could see sort of keeping their place in the table this year. I'm worried about the depth when it comes to the Champions League, but like I wonder how much they're actually going to put into the Champions League if they're doing well in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it's for them it's going to be it's an either or thing. They're not going to do well at both. I think they're going to have.
I mean, we saw what Leicester did. They just kind of fully committed to Champions League their season, and like they made it to the quarterfinals. Yeah. So like we also obviously see where they are now. But
that and $3 gives them a large coffee.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but Eddie Howe's a really, really smart manager, and I think that he will be able to handle it. I mean, I think he's honestly one of the best managers in football right now. Like, I think he's really, really fantastic, and I really trust him to guide this squad through this. And I think we could see Newcastle as kind of a mainstay in this top conversation for years to come.
Sure.
Because money
helps. Money turns out
just a little bit
helps out. It helps out quite a bit. Let's move to maybe a surprise team to stick around last year in Forest. Again, I'm looking at, they got Chris Wood in from Newcastle. Alanga from Man U, and I guess the fans over at United are pretty upset about that. I think they really like them. Didn't lose much, but they didn't have much to lose. Right. They didn't have much to lose. You know,
probably bringing in Turner from Arsenal as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that looks all but assured at this point.
Yeah.
Like defensively, they're not great. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
They're not going to stay in because they can shut teams down. They're going to stay in because they can score goals, at least at home. They score goals at home. There was the whole thing we said last year. They do two things. They win at home, and they score off getting the ball back. That's it. They really don't do much else. They got some good players. I really like Morgan Gibbs-White.
I love Gibbs-White.
Yeah.
I think he'd be really, really strong for them if they can hold on to him in the next couple of years. I mean, like, I don't know. This Forest squad is really interesting. I don't see them going down. I don't think any of us see them going down.
I don't think so. I'm right about the same spot, I'm thinking.
Yeah, but like I think that there are pieces here with Gibbs-White. I do think that Alanga is like a fairly big signing for them, if I'm being honest. If Turner plays as well for him as we've seen him play for the U.S. national team, I think that there are pieces here to potentially build for the future. And they've also been building their academy quite well over the last couple of years.
Yep.
So I don't see a massive improvement this year, but I think that there are pieces, especially if they can get in a really solid manager that can commit to this project.
You don't think Steve Cooper is the man to bring them into?
I mean, I
One of the
I don't want to doubt Steve, but
what did I call him last year? The most English-looking English person I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Incredible. A couple of names we didn't mention that I really liked from last year. Tayo Awonyi was very good, and I really like Brennan Johnson, even though he was coming off the bench. But I really liked him last year. I think he's underrated. But these guys have to score goals. They have to score a bunch because I think they're going to be letting a bunch through. Move on.
And that's been a problem for them even in preseason. They've played, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 preseason games. They scored 3 goals in all of them.
Yeah. Speaking of Brennan Johnson, I saw that Tottenham was potentially making a move for him. So
it'd be smart. It's a smart idea, especially if something happens to your forward group.
Yeah.
We will talk about in almost a minute. The next team, the last newly promoted team we'll talk about, Sheffield United. Do not call them Sheffield. They are Sheffield United. You have to say both or people get their panties in a bunch over it. I don't know why. Sheffield United. Here's the deal. I really don't know much about their players. I know that they did absolutely nothing really over the summer, and they are going to get absolutely hammered this year. I thought Luton would make an easy 20. These guys are a very easy 19. I do not expect these guys to. I don't even want to get to know their names.
Listen, either Wolves or Everton will be thanking Sheffield for existing, because if not for Sheffield, we'd be seeing both Wolves and Everton go down. I think one of them is going to get saved because this team, it's really a nothing, and just really a lack of trying to build if anything, and I've kind of seen this with Luton as well. It almost feels like they're already preparing to go back down, and they're just getting ready. They're just trying to make the fall a bit softer.
They're taking their money. They're doing what they have to do to make sure that they're viable and successful for years to come. It's winning the lottery. Getting promoted is winning the lottery, especially a team like Luton Town. Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah.
It's a huge difference.
Their offseason doesn't, I guess, give the confidence of a club that feel like they're staying up, like Burnley, I feel like has with their offseason. This is giving a club that's, just let's try to just build a really, keep a good championship squad. So potentially we can be back here in 2 or 3 years with better options moving forward.
Yeah, we're just happy to be here squad.
Exactly. Same with Luton. These and Luton are the happy to be here squads. Burnley's really the only newly promoted club that I think is a serious threat.
I think you guys are exactly right. That's exactly what they are. And they'll take their money and they'll say, thank you very much. Hopefully you'll see you guys in a couple of years where you can give me more money. But we'll see. Okay, we can skip the next. Okay, we'll talk about Tottenham Hotspurs. Of course, playing at vaunted Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because nobody wants to get their name on it. All right, let's talk about we'll give the floor to Trevor. You want to talk about your new manager at all first and then move down from there?
Okay. I like him a lot. I love the idea of bringing in someone who's never done anything in top 5 leagues. It reminds me a lot of a man we talked about earlier, Mauricio Pochettino. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that we can get back to the glory days of finishing second in the Premier League and the Champions League, and because that's what Tottenham's all about. But no, I mean, Ange Postecoglou did trophies follow him wherever he goes. Did great in Australia, did great with the Australian national team, won them their first Asian Cup. Did really well in Japan, did really well with Celtic. Obviously, we saw what happened over there. And he just like I think we've seen in interviews he said like I'd rather win 4-3 than 1-0, and having to deal with Antonio Conte for the for the last couple of years and Jose Mourinho before that, and then like Nuno for like 6 weeks, like it's just refreshing to hear that because I just want to watch entertaining football. Even if this season is a bit of a transition season, I hope that fans, supporters of the club are a bit lenient, and I think they recognize that this is going to be a bit of a project. But like, if we can just play fun, entertaining football, I am here for it and I am happy with it because the last couple of years have been miserable. With just like having to watch us sit back and do nothing and then attempt to win a game in 30 minutes. It's been really unenjoyable. So I am very Postacoglu pilled. And maybe that will fade by midseason, but I'm here for it. Now we'll see if we have a striker.
This is the 100 million euro question, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've turned it down three
Everything.
times. They've turned down over 100 million for him. He can leave on a free next summer. When like I just don't understand it. And he's ready to go. He's told them he's ready to go. He already has his personal details worked out in Germany. What do you,
like, you have to win
is it gonna? Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I don't see a world where if he doesn't go this summer, he's not out of the club next summer.
Right.
I really don't. And we're essentially saying we're willing to pay $120 million for one season of Harry Kane, which like. Fair enough. I think we became the first club ever in the history of the Premier League to both score and concede over 60 goals last season, and half of those goals that we scored came from one man, Harry Kane. Without that, we're not looking great. I'm gonna be honest, we're not looking great. So I understand keeping Kane, and maybe it's just you're giving up this massive sum of money to just give yourself time to try to come up with a plan, but like we should have had something in place. I don't know, and like Richarlison has looked good in preseason, and I think that Richarlison's brand of football, because he's very much just a sit and poach type of attacker. He sits in the 18 and just waits, whereas Kane likes to get a lot deeper and more involved in the build-up play. So that how Richarlison plays as a number 9 does feel similar to how we've seen Ange manage teams in the past. So like I think Richarlison can fit in, but obviously Kane in any system is going to be better than Richarlison in the system most suited to him. So it's going to be massive shoes to fill. If we have to go without him, like I don't hate having Richarlison, and then you have Kulusevski and Son, and then we've brought in James Maddison, who I think will be a fantastic addition to this midfield.
I honestly like the addition of James Maddison for you.
I think it's amazing. Since Eriksen left, we've been missing that number 10 like playmaker role in there, and I think that he is going to be fantastic for us. Unfortunately, we're allergic to center backs. And
it's crazy. I'm just looking at your defense right now, and it's like, oh boy,
it's disgusting. We have Christian Romero, who plays well half of the time when and then we're still rocking Eric Dyer and Ben Davies.
Yeah, I see that. Oh my!
I genuinely don't know how they Eric Dyer was playing for England like a year. Like how excuse me. Yeah, I really don't understand. We've been linked to Edmund Tapsoba and Mickey Van de Ven, I think, as well. So like we've been linked to moves for center backs, but nothing's been coming from it. Pedro Porro at right wing back. He showed moments of promise, but overall he's been largely underwhelming. A player who I really love and has played really well in preseason, Destiny Udogie, has looked absolutely fantastic at the left back position in preseason. Just got him back. I mean, essentially like a new signing. We signed him last year, but then he was on loan. So like essentially a new signing for this year. And he's looked really, really fun, especially with this type of attacking football that he's going to play. The wingbacks are going to get very involved. And that gives me hope for Porro, because when Porro looked his best last season, it was when he was getting more attacking and almost playing in as a midfielder at points. So hopefully, but I don't want our wingbacks getting forward when we have Eric Dyer and Christian Romero sitting back there.
Yeah,
so, and we also have a new keeper, and he's looked meh. I mean, Loris was going to go eventually, but Guglielmo Vicario, he's looked fine. Nothing really special, though. I kind of wish that we pursued David Raya a bit heavier, as we were linked to. So I am a bit too optimistic, I think. But like, I'm again just I want to be entertained this season, because the last couple of years have been just pretty miserable to watch. So if I can at least have some entertaining football, whether it's without Kane or with Kane or how it's all going to look, I'll be happy, and hopefully Ange can have time to build something for the next couple of years.
I think if you're looking for entertaining football without Kane, you might be looking for quite a long time.
Well,
he is 80% of the squad. Let's be real. Do you see them? Is there any way they creep up into European spots, or do you think they're stuck in this area now?
I think that they can get back up into top 7.
Okay.
I don't see them challenging for Champions League personally, but again, we need a defense first.
Yes.
But like, I don't think that a Europa League spot, or at least Conference League, is impossible.
I think if Kane goes and they don't replace him with someone, he is gone. But I think that if he stays, they're idiots, for one thing, for keeping him.
Losing out $100 million.
Losing out on so much money from Bayern Munich, especially when it's a foreign club that's in for
right.
him.
That's the thing. Like, if it was United, like we talked about, then sure. But
yeah. They're just being so stupid over there.
Daniel Levy, gotta love him.
Does not surprise me, because they make dumb moves all the time.
Yep.
I think that
I'm not going to defend this here. We're horrible.
Yeah. I think if Kane stays, then maybe you could get that Conference League spot or that last Europa League spot. But if he goes, you guys are in some real trouble.
If Kane goes again, like we had a comparable amount of goals conceded as some of the relegated clubs, and the only reason we stayed up was that Harry Kane put up yet another 30-goal season. I don't care, again, how good Richarlison could look in Ange's system. He's not giving us 30 goals. We're lucky to get 15 out of him. Okay,
and you're lucky to get any out of him with how many times he was offside last year.
He put like 4 offsides goals last year. Okay, so like we'll see with the new. I think the offsides rules changing, so like maybe. But and the other thing is Son, who was underwhelming last year, but he was apparently injured the entire time. So we're essentially, hopefully, going to be getting the Son of 2 years ago back, uninjured. So
that'll be a big help.
Maybe, but also if Kane leaves, we're missing out on the Son and Kane connection.
Yep.
So I really don't know. The Kane situation is such a lose-lose, because either we're without him and we finish probably bottom half of the table. We do with Chelsea. Sorry. Then we keep him and we lose out on 100 million, and maybe we make Europa League, and then he's gone on a free next year, and hopefully we've brought in somebody to replace him. But like nobody's gonna be able to replace Harry Kane. Like, it's impossible. Yeah. Like arguably, like I still think he's the best striker in the world. And maybe that may be a bit biased, but like I think that he is a more complete striker than Erling Haaland. I think if you put Kane in that Manchester City team, he does just as well, if not better. And I think that he's better at creating chances. That's just me personally. I think that Kane's a really, like, undeniably one of the best, but I do genuinely think he's the best striker in the world in that position. So like,
especially off of set plays, he's a set play master.
Like you can't replace him. You can't replace him. So we'll see, but so much of this team, like, I think it's really hard to make an actual prediction as far as their table, because Adelia, as you said, like, it really solely depends on if he stays or goes. And I honestly am leaning more towards he stays. The further and further we, I guess the closer we get to the start of the season and the end of the transfer window, and the more they reject offers coming in from Bayern,
Crazy.
which is just take the money, invest it in the new strike.
Invested in 2. You can get 2 great
back would
strikers
be
for.
nice.
Oh, that would be You could also
Center back would be
rebuild
cool.
your entire back line for $100 million.
Yeah, so I really don't know. It's just we're in a really bad position as a club right now, I think, as a whole. But I'm hoping that this can just be a transitional year and we don't completely embarrass ourselves and we at least have some fun football and just can be given something to build on for the next couple of years.
Well, good luck with that.
Yep, I will take all the luck I can get. We'll see. We'll see. We're gonna lose to Brentford week 1 or something like that. It's already
Yeah.
Anyways,
who knows about Brentford? Let's move on to another team I cannot stand and I hate very, very much. We're going to up the irons with West Ham, your UEFA Conference League champs.
Somehow.
Pretty important. That's pretty important, guys. Again,
the only reason David Moyes still has a job is because
oh my god, yeah.
My favorite thing we did all year on the show last season was David Moyes still has a job every week. It was I couldn't believe it. So, and I'll just go right to my question first. We'll talk about of course Declan Rice is gone. Gianluca Scamacca left today to Atlanta. With Rice gone, does Moyes coach until Christmas?
No.
Yeah,
No.
Absolutely not.
He is done. They are. I have no idea. I was watching some of the prediction pages and stuff like that, and people were still thinking they're going to finish around the same thing, about 14th or so. It's how? I think with him, Everton and Wolves are going to be a real foot race to see who can finish 18th.
Yeah, we have the 2 happy to be here clubs in Sheffield United and Luton, and then it really is those 3. No Declan Rice. I mean, they're making bids. I thought they just improved their bid for Harry Maguire.
Oh, good.
Fantastic, lovely Harry Maguire.
That'll help
United
so,
to give them money
so
for him.
Everyone knows that Harry Maguire is a difference maker.
Maybe in a different system, Maguire works better. He doesn't work when you ask him to run or move, which might be helpful as a football player. But if you just let him stand still and try to make headers in the box, maybe if David Moyes wants to do that with him and he thinks that that's worth 30 million to just have a tall guy stand there and try to make down, I guess, but you lose Declan Rice and that's what you go after. They've just done nothing with this money except for now make a $30 million bid for Harry Maguire.
Yeah. I mean, I think I tweeted out a couple of days ago, what did West Ham do? Just pocket that 100 mil and say, okay, we're good. They have done nothing. This offseason.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
They're in a lot of trouble.
Their defense is awful. I'm looking at it right now.
But they're going to have Harry Maguire, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's just nothing there. Let's move to their midfielders, and we got Lucas Paqueta. All right, Thomas Suchek isn't so bad.
Yeah.
Really, those are your 2 midfielders that are worth their salt. I wouldn't put my trust in a guy like Pablo Fornals or anything like that. Then up front, I like Danny Ings. I like him.
He's fine.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
He's fine. Miguel Antonio, the Jamaican, he's fine.
Mm-hmm. He's fine.
Yep. Yeah, there's nothing that should excite anyone.
Yep.
And if you're a West Ham fan,
Ben Rama, fine.
Right, if you guys are West Ham fans, you got more problems than I care to admit. But this is not a good looking squad. Their coach isn't great.
Plus, they have to balance European football with all of this.
Yeah.
They're playing in the Europa League.
They're going to get killed in the Europa League.
No, they're going to get absolutely annihilated in the Europa League. But, that's still 6 matches that they have to play.
Yep.
in balance with this front half of the season. Like
the one thing I will say about that is they do have experience from last year with balancing European football with the rest of the games,
but
they're just not going to be good.
They also one of the best, midfielders in England right now. It's Declan Rice. So like,
yeah,
I know
I didn't mind their goaltending either. I think Fabianski's a good goaltender.
Fabianski's pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it. They have one of the people I dislike most in the Premier League on their defensive line, and they keep playing him for some reason, which I will never understand. I'm not going to say his name. They are a shit show. I'm glad that they are, because again, I'm not a huge fan of West Ham United. So any bit of pain they have brings me joy to my cold, dark heart. Let's move on to the last team, and another team that just really hasn't done a damn thing.
Nope.
In Wolverhampton Wanderers,
except lose their few good players.
Yeah,
it's incredible. They lost. I wrote down. Hold on. They lost either being released, loaned, or transferred 24 players. They brought in Tom King as a free agent. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And like included in those 24 players are like some really, really solid like player. Like obviously nothing like world beating, but like I mean it's not like it's all just nothing in that 24.
Right.
So
well, one of the players that is gone is only one of my all-time favorite players. I was glad that he got to have at least one more game back at the Bridge, and that's Diego Costa. He did nothing for them. I think he scored one goal for them. And he's a shell of what he was, but it was nice to see him play. I cheered for him, and he was still his rough and tumble best, and not super smart. But Adama Traore is gone as well.
Yep.
And he's a guy that I would mention him every time. I really like that guy. I thought he was playing the wrong sport. He looked like a running back. He's just so big and so strong. He seemed to fall down quite easily, but he would also get hurt. But nobody's picked him up. I'm surprised. Like there's all these clubs that could use an Adama Traore, at least coming off the bench. Give him 30 minutes work, 35 minutes work. He can make a difference. For some of these teams that are on the bottom end of the table, like why wouldn't a Sheffield United want somebody like this, or Luton Town, just somebody that can put the ball in the net in spots and just provide strength and try and outwork people. I'm surprised he doesn't have a spot. But there isn't much else that I'm saying. I'm super surprised doesn't have a spot. Moutinho's gone. Nathan Galt went over to Brentford.
Ruben Neves,
is
a big one.
Raul Jimenez over to Fulham. Let's talk about what they do have. They got Jose Sa. Yeah, they got Jose Sa. I like him. I think
he's probably the best player they have remaining.
Yeah. Also, I mean, so I was just scrolling through the departure list, and it's long.
It's a long one. It's Chelsea long, but with nobody coming back. Yeah. Matt Doherty is playing on their back line.
Former Tottenham player.
Yeah, I'm sure you're happy about that. But that's really, I think he's the guy who has Johnny is there, and Johnny was, whatever. Craig Dawson's whatever. Like this is a poor defense. And can I change my mind about Everton being relegated? Just looking at this squad. Oh my God.
I mean, looking at this squad, I feel stronger that Everton will stay up than I do them.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm kind of on the same page. I think we're looking at it's going to be close between West Ham, Everton, Wolves. But I think if I were to say right now, it's Wolves, Sheffield United, Luton down with like Everton in 17th, West Ham 16th or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I can't see how Wolves stay up. Their forwards, like Hee-Chan is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neto. Not really. I'm not a huge fan. Like Fabio Silva. This is almost a Sheffield-ish lineup. There's really just nothing. Their midfield is so bad. Nunez maybe is the only one that's half decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a shambolic managing of this club.
It is terrible. It is absolutely terrible.
How long does the manager stay?
They're so cheap. I doubt they get rid of him and have to pay somebody else. That's the only thing I'm thinking. That they won't fire him because they won't want to have to pay him.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Lopetegui's not bad. I think he's a fine.
No, he's not bad.
No, yeah, not at all. Yeah,
he's just been given absolutely nothing to work with.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I think they have done a disservice to themselves by not even attempting to field a competitive squad at all.
Yeah,
a real shame. But it's Wolverhampton Wanderers, so we'll all get over it. Who gives a shit?
They were just a Crystal Palace for a little bit, where they were just there, and they've been here for like 6 or 7 years, and really done nothing.
So I think we're all pretty much set. Like the 18, 17, 16 could be flux, but I think Wolves, Sheffield United, and Luton are the 3 teams to go down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who do you guys have as your top 5?
City, Arsenal, United, Newcastle, Liverpool.
Okay.
I am the exact same.
Wow, what a copycat. What a copycat. Mine was different. Ooh. I went.
What's yours?
So you had Chelsea in there.
You know I'm going to have them in there somewhere. I went, but I think you might be surprised. I picked Arsenal to win the league. And I could taste the sulfur in my mouth just as I was writing it too. I was not a fan. I figured the City's luck has to run out. It's law of averages. They got to go.
Yeah.
So
I would be very happy if you were right.
Yeah. So I have City second. I have Man U in third as well. I have Liverpool in fourth, and I got Chelsea to move up to fifth because why not? You know, if I'm wrong, who gives a shit? At least it makes me feel better to say they did something. So we're done with all that part. Now we move on to the season, and what we do, probably what I do at the worst, is predict who's going to win the first week of matches in the Premier League. We're starting with Victor Company welcoming his old pals in the reigning champion City. That's Friday. It's coming up.
It's Friday. Yeah.
Really close.
Yeah.
City,
obviously.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer, isn't it? I think it'd be remarkable if it wasn't. Arsenal gets to start their season at home. Don't worry, it's at home against Nottingham Forest.
Arsenal.
I agree. Yeah, it's got to be Arsenal. It would be funny, and I would laugh very hard if Nottingham Forest did something. But I mean, yeah, it's purely Arsenal.
I think Adelia would find that hilarious.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. No. We have Bournemouth versus West Ham.
Bournemouth.
Can I say a draw?
Yep, of course you can.
Okay. I think they draw. I think that's solid 1-1, 2-2 draw.
I'm gonna pick Bournemouth as well. I like home teams, and we've just discussed how much West Ham stinks. Brighton and Luton from the Amex.
Brighton.
Feel quite good about that one.
Yeah, that one is easy. This one could be less easy. Everton and Fulham.
Fulham.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Fulham as well.
I'm gonna pick the draw.
Okay.
Sheffield Wednesday and Crystal Palace.
Palace.
Yeah, I lean towards Palace there as well. I feel weird saying Palace is going to win a match.
Yeah, especially on the
Sheffield
road.
Sheffield Wednesday coming up from the championship.
Sheffield United, not Sheffield Wednesday. Let's get that very clear. They will get very mad.
Yeah. Newcastle and Villa, which may be one of the premier matchups of the entire week.
That should be a really good match. I think I might go draw on that one.
Okay.
I think it's got to be Newcastle.
I'm going to pick them as well just because they're at home.
Yeah.
Brentford taking on the Tottenham North London Hotspurs.
Brentford.
I'm going to say draw. I don't even feel good about this. I would not be shocked if we lost. I'm going to be on yeah, I'm going to say draw.
I'd say if Harry Kane doesn't play because of calf soreness or something like that, you can expect him to be gone.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick.
I'm waiting for that report to come out. Like Harry Kane has injured himself when training. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I picked Brentford as well. Chelsea, Liverpool. This is at the Bridge. Tough one.
I go
Liverpool. Chelsea just because they're at home.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. You're going Liverpool?
I'm going Liverpool. I want to give this Chelsea team a bit of time to settle. I think this fixture happens a bit later in the year at the Bridge. I'd be looking the other direction, but yeah, I think Liverpool has it now.
I think I'm going to take Chelsea just because I want to look myself in the mirror tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna set myself up for disappointment and hope for the best with Tottenham. So
that's smart. In the final match of the week, the Monday matchup, United at home against those tough Wolverhampton Wolves.
United.
It's gotta be United. Let's come on. But again, would I laugh very, very hard?
I will laugh so hard.
Yes, I would.
They didn't start off very good last year. They stumbled out of the gate, if I remember last year as well.
Yeah, they were they were in bottom 3 spots for like a couple weeks. So
yeah, they weren't terrific. But you know who was terrific? Trevor, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Again, thank your parents for letting you stay up so late, especially on a school night.
Once again, not that late. Also, once again, school not in session.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Adelia, Arsenal winning the Premier League. Does that have a good ring to it?
It has a wonderful ring to it. I'm just not going to be convinced that we're going to do it until it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 20 years. I can't say that we're going to do it. I know you remember.
Declan Rice already has more trophies in one game than Kane has in 435.
That's very true. That's very, very true.
Listen, I'm going all in on the Carabao Cup this year. It's ours. It's ours. We're
another vaunted trophy.
Yeah, we need
it. Trevor, thank you very much for joining us on the longest episode of Starting 11 we've ever done. We're at nearly 2 hours. No, it's great. Where can people find you, plug your channel, and do all that stuff?
Yeah, so I talk about not football. I talk about the Oscars and awards and films and things on my YouTube channel, Oscar Buzz. So that's fun. We get fall film festivals coming up soon. It should be very, very exciting. I scream about awards there, and it's fun, I guess. I also am on Twitter at TM Tux Movies, if that is something that you are interested in at all. I'm on Letterboxd at my name, and then I also have a podcast called Pop Culture is Dead. So lots of fun things. I'm all over the internet, probably too much on the internet, but this was another spot now. Anyways.
We will put a link to Trevor's stuff in the description so you can check out his channel and all that. So
smart.
Snark, where can the people find you?
You can find me doing lots of stuff here on the Let's Get Ready Network. Now, this is summer break is over for us, so we'll be doing this every week for the next 40 weeks or so, give or take, through some European positions and Champions League matches and stuff like that. So we'll see. Where else can you find me? I've been doing every once in a while entertainment news breaks here on the show or on the channel. Not much to talk about unless we want to talk about strikes. So there hasn't been too many of those going around, but there's going to be a couple of things popping up here and there. Maybe we'll do a couple of show. We'll talk about a couple of shows coming up. I believe there's a Winning Time, or season 2 just there. We might talk about that. But of course, coming very soon, the Rewatchers Council, and Adelia and I will be joined by people and talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer from episode 1 to episode 144. And I can't wait for that. I'm really looking forward to getting that started.
I am also very much looking forward to that. You can find me on Twitter at Adelia Chambo. I refuse to call that app X. And just all over the entertainment, the LGRN Entertainment channel. We've got the Open Table on Friday nights. This week we have Late to the Party as our guests. That'll be a lot of it. That'll be really fun. Me and Ferris having a weekly dinner party with all of you. No eating required because it's 10 o'clock at night, my time when we film it. So that's coming up on Friday. And this show every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific on the entertainment, the LGRN, the Highlights channel. Why do I keep saying entertainment? I don't know what's happening right now.
Me.
It's late. Check it out.
2 hours.
It's late. It's been a long day.
It's a supersized issue as well.
It is. We will be back next week to recap the first week of the Premier League. Until next 10, we're out.